You have probably come across the term plasticity to describe the brain's ability to recover from injury or for different parts of the brain to take over functions of damaged areas. This clip illustrates a different but probably related characteristic, which is a remarkable responsiveness of the brain to a meditator's willed mental intentions. As far as I'm aware, this is the first ever recording of somebody practicing the technique of Buddho meditation, a very ancient technique of samatha meditation described in the book. It is a practice that uses willpower alongside the syllables bu and do, silently intoned on the in and out breaths. At this point, the subject is waiting for the cue to begin Buddho practice, and the spindling suggests already being in the approach stages towards jhāna. The spindles are actually quite strong, mainly at the back of the head, and here is the cue to the meditator to begin the Buddho technique, after which a lot happens rather dramatically. This small uptick about 1 second after the cue is an involuntary response indicating the meditator has heard the cue. And about a second later there is a sharp inhibition in the intensity at frontal sites. If I select out the frontal electrode FP1, you can see that since the intensity scale is 200 microvolts per centimetre, this shows an inhibition of 400 microvolts or thereabouts as the meditator starts to silently intone bu, which inhibits frontal cognitive processing. At the same time, a very strong positive slow wave develops at temporal sites, particularly at electrode T3. If I select out this electrode, the increase in amplitude here is almost 1000 microvolts. The temporal sites are the location of the brain's auditory cortex, which is seen in these traces to respond strongly to the internal silent sounding of bu. However, even more striking is that about 10 seconds later, an even stronger positive slow wave develops at frontal sites. So strong that I have to turn down the gain and shift the whole recording lower to fit on the screen. This peak occurs at completion of the bu phase and corresponds to the meditator's intention, willpower, to focus concentration. The peak is now 15 seconds after the initial cue to begin, and the peak to trough change in amplitude here is over 3500 microvolts. You can see this figure registered in this lower window based on the shift from beginning to end of the yellow highlighted section. This is an intensity pretty well unheard of in neuroscience. The frequency spectrum for this same period that I've calculated in advance shows very intense activity in the low delta plot at the frontal sites of the brain, while the other alpha, beta, thinking, etc. bands of sensory and cognitive activity are negligible in comparison. From this point, the meditator uses the syllable do to calm the very high intensity down into a deeper level of stillness and absorption in jhāna. This technique is very different to anapanasati, mindfulness of in and out breathing, the main topic of the book, where the infraslow waves are rhythmic and continuous. Buddho is a willpower practice that evokes extremely powerful single slow waves, as shown in this clip, followed by periods of stillness that may be extended by repeating the process to establish jhāna. In the old traditions, it was a common practice for meditators to use Buddho for a while, followed by anapanasati, to gain more experience of the higher jhanas.